The massive Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion appeared silently in Earth's orbit one ordinary Tuesday morning. Its sleek, metallic hull reflected sunlight as smaller vessels deployed around it, positioning themselves over major population centers. The world below descended into chaos as news spread across social media and emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming. In Seoul, Commander Tae-ho stared at the main display screen of the Korean Space Defense Force headquarters. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped the edge of the command console. The room around him buzzed with frantic activity as officers and technicians scrambled to make sense of the unprecedented situation. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database," reported Officer Yun-ji, her voice remarkably steady. "The smaller craft are taking positions over Beijing, Tokyo, Washington, Moscow, London, and 19 other capitals." Tae-ho nodded grimly. "Any hostile actions?" "No, sir, they're just waiting." Across the globe, military forces mobilized as civilians crowded streets, some fleeing cities while others gathered to witness history. Religious groups proclaimed the end times while scientists worked frantically to establish communication protocols. 6 hours after their arrival, the aliens finally made contact. Holograms materialized simultaneously in major cities worldwide, tall, humanoid figures with iridescent skin and elongated features. They spoke in perfect local languages, their voices carrying an unsettling metallic undertone. "People of Earth, I am Grand Executor Yule of the Galactic Imperial Coalition. Your primitive world has been selected for integration into our benevolent empire spanning 3 galactic arms. Resistance is both futile and illogical. You have 48 hours to surrender your governing authorities." The message ended abruptly, leaving stunned silence in its wake. At the hastily assembled United Nations emergency session, newly appointed High Admiral Dae-sung of Earth's Unified Defense Council addressed the gathered representatives. "We face an enemy with technology centuries beyond our own," he stated bluntly. "But our intelligence suggests they've never encountered a species quite like humans before." Dr. Ji Woo, head of the International Xenoscience Committee, stepped forward. The young physicist had dark circles under her eyes from working non-stop since first contact. "Their technology is advanced, but their approach reveals important weaknesses," she explained. "The Empire expects immediate compliance. They've conquered hundreds of worlds, but their records show those species surrendered immediately. They don't have protocols for sustained resistance." In Washington, D.C., President Wilson received reports of unusual radiation signatures from the alien vessels. "Could this be weapons charging?" he asked his military advisors. "Possibly," replied General Sang-min. "But our analysis team believes it might be scanning technology. They're studying our infrastructure, mapping our defenses." Halfway across the world, young hacker Min-ho worked feverishly in his Seoul apartment, attempting to intercept alien communications. His computer screen flickered with strange symbols as government cybersecurity experts connected to his makeshift setup remotely. "There's a pattern," he muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Their encryption is complex, but there's something familiar in the underlying logic." Meanwhile, at a secret military facility, Captain Sunmi led a special operations team through combat simulations. "We need to be ready for any scenario," she told her international squad. "Conventional warfare, biological attacks, or something we can't even imagine yet." As the deadline approached, global leaders debated their response. Some advocated immediate surrender to avoid destruction. Others insisted humanity must stand against tyranny, regardless of the technological gap. Admiral Dae-sung gathered Earth's top military commanders for a final strategy session. "We cannot match their firepower," he acknowledged. "But humans possess something the Empire may not understand: adaptability. We evolved as both predator and prey. When cornered, we don't just fight, we innovate." With 12 hours remaining, before the Imperial deadline, Earth's response was broadcast globally and transmitted to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Dae-sung speaking on behalf of humanity. We acknowledge your presence and request peaceful dialogue as equals. Earth is not yours to claim. We will defend our home. The response from space was immediate. The Imperial vessels shifted positions, their energy signatures changing. "Energy spike detected," shouted Officer Yunji, alarm filling her voice. "They're targeting military installations first." As the first Imperial weapons fire descended toward Earth, humanity's resistance began. Against all odds and despite their technological disadvantage, humans prepared to demonstrate why underestimating them would be the Galactic Empire's greatest mistake. The first Imperial attacks struck key military installations around the globe with surgical precision. What should have been a devastating blow to Earth's defenses instead revealed something unexpected. Humans were far more resilient than the Empire's intelligence had suggested. 3 days after the initial bombardment, Dr. Jiwoo stood in a hastily assembled laboratory beneath the ruins of Seoul National University. Around her, an international team of scientists examined the wreckage of an Imperial scout ship shot down over the Yellow Sea. The craft's pilot had not survived, but its technology remained largely intact. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the ship's central processor. "Their computing architecture is incredibly advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. They prioritize efficiency over adaptability." Across the room, a young engineer named June worked to decode the alien communication systems. "They don't even encrypt their tactical channels," he reported with disbelief. "They've never needed to because no one has challenged them in thousands of years." Meanwhile, in the mountains outside the city, Captain Sunmi led her Special Forces team through the wreckage of another downed Imperial vessel. Unlike the scout ship, this was a combat craft. Its weapons systems were still partially functional. "Their targeting systems are designed for precision," she observed, studying the alien weapons. "But they can't adapt to unpredictable movement patterns. That's why our old fighter jets survived when our advanced ones didn't." The Imperial Fleet Commander, Grand Executor Yule, watched the ongoing resistance with growing frustration. Standing on the bridge of his flagship, he addressed his officers with barely contained anger. "How is it possible that these primitives continue to resist? Their technology is centuries behind ours. Their weapons are crude. Their defenses should have collapsed within hours." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Ho Jin, studied the battle data with concern. "They're not fighting according to any recognized doctrine, sir. Their tactics are chaotic, unpredictable. They sacrifice efficiency for surprise." "Nonsense," Yule dismissed. "They're simply desperate. Deploy the second wave. Target their power infrastructure. Without energy, they will surrender." But as the second wave of attacks began, Earth's defenders were ready. Using knowledge gained from the captured Imperial technology, military forces worldwide had adapted their strategies. Fighter pilots now flew erratic patterns that confused Imperial targeting systems. Ground forces used simple radio frequencies that Imperial scanners overlooked. In Washington, Admiral Dae-sung addressed the Emergency War Council. His uniform was torn and dirty. He had narrowly escaped when the Pentagon was hit. "The Empire expected compliance, not creativity," he explained. "Their combat protocols are rigid because they've never needed to adapt. Every species they've encountered surrendered immediately." On the screens around him, reports showed surprising victories. A squadron of outdated jets had taken down an Imperial destroyer over the Pacific. Conventional submarines had successfully attacked Imperial ships from beneath the ocean's surface, a vector the Empire had never considered. "They've grown complacent," said General Hyun, Australia's military representative. "They've conquered so many worlds that they forgot what it's like to face real resistance." In orbit, Yule received increasingly disturbing reports. The humans were adapting faster than any species the Empire had encountered in its 10,000-year history. They were already attempting to reverse engineer Imperial technology, and somehow they were succeeding. "Impossible," he muttered, watching, as another Imperial vessel reported critical damage. "They're primitives, pre-FTL savages." On the 7th day of what was supposed to be a simple planetary acquisition, the humans achieved their first major victory. Captain Sunmi had led a daring raid on an Imperial ground base. Her team had captured an intact communication array and transport vessel. Within hours, Dr. Jiwoo and her team had the communication system operational. For the first time, Earth could listen to all Imperial communications. They're frightened, Sunmi realized, listening to the translated transmissions. They don't understand us. They've never encountered a species that fights like we do. As the second week of resistance began, High Admiral Daesung gathered Earth's remaining leaders. Their faces showed exhaustion but also determination. The Empire made a critical error, he told them. They judged us by our technology, not by our spirit. They expected surrender, not resistance. They thought we would break under pressure. He pointed to the map showing Imperial positions. Instead, we've adapted, we've learned. And now we're going to show them what happens when you corner a species that evolved as both predator and prey. On the third week of what was supposed to be a routine planetary conquest, Imperial Commander Yule stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching in disbelief as another cruiser's shields failed under Earth's attack. His iridescent skin had dulled with stress, and the confidence that once radiated from his tall frame had visibly diminished. Impossible, he muttered, as the humans disabled another Imperial vessel using modified versions of the Empire's own technology. They're learning too quickly. They're adapting our weapons to target our shield frequencies. The bridge officers worked frantically around him, trying to counter the unexpected resistance. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds across 3 galactic arms, but none had ever fought back with such ferocity and ingenuity. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the humans have developed some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon that disrupts our navigation systems. 3 more squadrons are reporting critical failures." Yule slammed his fist on the command console. How? Their technology was primitive just weeks ago. On Earth, Dr. Jiwoo worked with her international team in an underground facility protected from Imperial scans. The captured alien technology had revealed critical weaknesses in the Empire's seemingly invincible defenses. The Empire's entire defense system relies on quantum-locked shielding, she explained to Admiral Daesung during an emergency briefing. It's incredibly powerful against conventional weapons, but they've never faced opponents who could analyze and target specific frequencies. Daesung studied the technical diagrams on the screen. Though not a scientist himself, he understood the implications. They've grown complacent, he said. They've conquered so many worlds without resistance that they never bothered to fix the flaws in their systems. Jiwoo nodded. Exactly. Their technology hasn't truly evolved in centuries. They just kept using what worked because no one ever challenged them. Across the globe, humanity's counterattack was gaining momentum. In the North Atlantic, a retrofitted nuclear submarine commanded by Captain Do-hyun had successfully attacked an Imperial command ship from below. The Empire's sensors, designed to detect threats from space or land, had completely overlooked the underwater approach. Target neutralized, Do-hyun reported calmly as the massive alien vessel crashed into the ocean. His crew cheered, but he quickly silenced them. Maintain stealth protocols. Prepare for the next target. In orbit, a hastily assembled coalition of space agencies had launched modified satellites carrying weapons based on captured Imperial technology. These crude but effective devices targeted the specific vulnerabilities Dr. Jiwoo's team had identified. Adair. The main command center, General Hyun, coordinated the global response. The Empire fights like a machine, she told her officers. Predictable, methodical, efficient. But we fight like humans. Adaptable, creative, and ruthless when cornered. Meanwhile, Captain Sunmi led a daring raid on an Imperial ground base in the Siberian wilderness. Her international team moved silently through the alien facility, placing small devices on crucial equipment. Transmission devices placed, whispered her communications specialist. Dr. Jiwoo will receive their data stream in 3 minutes. Sunmi nodded. Now for Phase 2. Plant the virus. The virus was a brilliant piece of code developed by young programmer Minho. It was designed to infiltrate the Imperial network and cause widespread confusion among their forces. Based on their study of Imperial computing architecture, the team knew the aliens had never developed strong cybersecurity. They had never needed it. Back on the Imperial flagship, Commander Yule received increasingly alarming reports. His forces were suffering unprecedented casualties. The command structure was in disarray. And worst of all, the humans were beginning to coordinate their attacks with frightening efficiency. These creatures, Yule reported to the Imperial Sector Council in a transmission, do not behave like any rational species we've encountered. They should have surrendered when faced with superior force. Instead, they fight harder. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They adapt at a rate we've never observed. One of the council members, an ancient being who had overseen hundreds of conquests, leaned forward. "Commander, is it possible we have miscalculated?" Before Yule could answer, alarms blared across the flagship. "Sir," shouted his security chief, "our systems are being compromised. Some kind of data infiltration." Across the ship's displays, critical systems began shutting down or reporting false information. Similar reports flooded in from other vessels. The Imperial fleet, for the first time in its 10,000-year history, was in chaos. On Earth, Admiral Dae-sung received the news with grim satisfaction. The Empire made a catastrophic miscalculation, he told the gathered world leaders. They thought they were hunting prey. They didn't realize they were poking a predator. 1 month into what was supposed to be a swift conquest, the Galactic Empire found itself facing an unprecedented situation. Not only were the humans still fighting, but they were winning battles. The Empire had never encountered a species that could adapt so quickly or fight with such determination when outmatched. Captain Sunmi stood before a large holographic display in the International Command Center built inside a mountain in New Zealand. As head of the newly formed Human Infiltration Division, she was briefing military leaders from around the world on her latest findings. "Their greatest weakness is their unity," she explained, pointing to the complex hierarchical structure of the Imperial forces. "The Empire is a collection of different species, each with rigid protocols and defined roles. They cannot comprehend our distributed decision-making." Admiral Dae-sung nodded thoughtfully. "They expect a central command structure they can target and destroy. Instead, they're facing thousands of independent units making their own decisions, based on shared objectives." "Exactly," Sunmi continued. "When we shot down their communication satellites, Imperial ground forces were paralyzed for hours waiting for new orders. Our forces simply adapted and continued fighting." In another section of the facility, Dr. Jiwoo worked with a team of physicists studying the fundamental principles behind Imperial technology. What they discovered was revolutionary. Their entire technological framework is built on stability, she told the Science Council. They advanced along predictable paths, optimizing what worked rather than exploring alternatives. They don't understand our apparent technological chaos. Meanwhile, young programmer Minho had created something that terrified the Imperial forces more than any weapon. His virus had infiltrated the Imperial network, causing mass confusion among their troops. The elegant code took advantage of the Empire's complete lack of cybersecurity protocols. They had never needed them before. "The virus doesn't just disrupt their communications," Minho explained to military intelligence. "It makes their systems lie to them in subtle ways. Their sensors show threats where none exist and miss real ones. Their navigation systems lead them into traps." On the Imperial flagship, Commander Yule was facing the greatest crisis of his 500-year career. His officers watched nervously as he reviewed the latest casualty reports. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We've conquered 1,000 worlds. Our technology is centuries beyond theirs." Sub-Commander Ho Jin had been studying human history since the conflict began. "Sir, I believe I understand now. Every Imperial species evolved under stable conditions. Each species specialized and optimized for specific roles." Yule frowned. "What does that matter?" "Humans evolved to thrive in chaos and uncertainty," Ho Jin explained. "They faced constant environmental changes, predators, natural disasters. They've been fighting and adapting their entire evolutionary history. It's not just their technology we're fighting, it's their nature." Back on Earth, Admiral Dae-sung authorized the riskiest mission yet, Operation Trojan Horse. A small team would attempt to infiltrate the Imperial flagship itself. "This is a volunteer mission only," he told the assembled special forces. "The chances of survival are minimal." Captain Sunmi stepped forward immediately. "I'll lead the team, sir. The infiltration team used a captured Imperial shuttle, modified to appear damaged. As they approached the flagship, they transmitted Imperial distress codes stolen during previous battles. Damaged scout returning to base. Sunmi transmitted in perfect Imperial standard language. Request emergency docking authorization. The plan worked. Once aboard, the team moved through the massive vessel using routes mapped from captured Imperial data. Their objective: the Central Command Center. Dr. Jiwoo had provided them with a special device designed to connect to the flagship's main systems. Once uploaded, it will give us control of their entire network, she had explained. But you'll have less than 5 minutes before they detect it. As Sunmi's team approached the command center, an alarm sounded. They had been discovered. Imperial. Guards rushed toward them from both directions. Proceed with the mission, Sunmi ordered her team. I'll hold them off. Against all odds, the device was planted. In those crucial 5 minutes, humanity gained access to the Empire's most closely guarded secrets. Their strategies, their weaknesses, and most importantly, their fear. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Empire faced an enemy they could not understand. And what they feared most was not human weapons but human unpredictability. The Imperial withdrawal began 3 months after first contact. What had been planned as a routine assimilation had become the Empire's greatest military disaster in 10,000 years. Across Earth, humans celebrated their improbable victory while preparing for what would come next. Admiral Dae-sung sat across from Grand Executor Yule in the neutral territory of lunar orbit. The meeting took place aboard an Imperial diplomatic vessel, its sleek design a stark contrast to the hastily constructed human shuttle that had brought the Earth delegation. The terms are simple, said Dae-sung, his voice calm but firm. Earth remains sovereign. The Empire will recognize humanity as equals, not subjects. Yule's iridescent skin shimmered with barely contained frustration. In his 5 centuries of service, he had never faced such humiliation. You cannot expect the Empire to treat primitives as equals. Primitives? Dae-sung allowed himself a small smile. Your fleet is decimated. Your invasion failed. Perhaps you should reconsider your definition of primitive. The truth was undeniable. The Empire had lost over 60% of its invasion force. The humans had not only survived but had captured invaluable Imperial technology and data. Most concerning to the Imperial Council was how quickly humans adapted that technology for their own use. Back on Earth, Dr. Jiwoo's team had already begun incorporating Imperial technology into Earth's first true starships. In her new laboratory, beneath Mount Fuji, she watched as the prototype engine core powered up successfully. With these advancements, we can travel to nearby star systems within days, she explained to the International Science Council. We'll meet them as equals now, not as a conquered world. After weeks of tense negotiations, the peace treaty was signed. The Empire recognized Earth as a sovereign world with rights to its solar system. In return, humans agreed not to share Imperial technology with other non-aligned worlds without permission. Captain Sunmi, now appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community, made an unexpected discovery during her initial diplomatic missions. During a reception on the Imperial capital world, a representative from a minor Imperial species approached her privately. Your resistance has inspired many within the Empire, the alien whispered. For millennia, we have served as second-class citizens. Perhaps humans could become allies to those seeking change. Sunmi soon learned this was not an isolated sentiment. Several species wanted separate alliances with Earth. They feared humans, but they also admired them. The rigid Imperial hierarchy was showing cracks inspired by humanity's successful defiance. On her return to Earth, Sunmi reported these findings to the newly formed Galactic Relations Council. The Empire isn't the monolith we imagined, she explained. It's a collection of species with their own interests and grievances. Many see humans as potential allies against Imperial dominance. Admiral Dae-sung listened carefully. So our victory hasn't just changed Earth's position. It's changing the entire galactic power structure. 6 months after first contact, The first human diplomatic mission departed for the imperial capital. Earth was taking its place in galactic politics not as a conquered world, but as a rising power that had accomplished the impossible. Young Minho, whose programming skills had been crucial during the conflict, now led Earth's cybersecurity division. The Empire still doesn't understand how we think, he told his team. They see chaos where we see creativity. They see disorder where we see adaptation. As Earth's influence grew, many imperial species began adopting human approaches to problem-solving and organization. The rigid hierarchy that had defined the Empire for millennia was slowly giving way to something more flexible and adaptive. 1 year after the Imperial ships first appeared in Earth's sky, humanity had established outposts on 3 nearby star systems. Earth's unique position, neither imperial subject nor enemy, allowed it to navigate the complex politics of the galaxy with surprising effectiveness. "They came to conquer us," Admiral Daesung remarked during the anniversary celebration. Instead, they awakened something they never expected: humanity's true potential. As Earth took its place among the stars, the galaxy would forever remember the small blue planet that brought catastrophe to an empire and changed the course of galactic history.